I'm going to talk a little bit today about success. Now, just as a way of starting off this talk today, just want to talk a little bit about this story to kick it off. And this guy was walking down the street one day, and he saw a sign in the front yard that said there's a dog for sale, talking dog for sale. And he rang the doorbell and he asked the owner of the house where the dog was. And the owner said he's in the backyard. And so they walk around back, and there was a chocolate lab back there. And you know, labs are beautiful dogs. I had a chocolate lab mixed with a chow years ago. Beautiful, beautiful dog. And so he asked the dog what was his story. And the dog replied, well, I found out that I could talk by age 4. And the CIA hired me to spy on the heads of state. And from that point, I worked at the airport as a bomb sniffing dog. And I decided at that point I needed to settle down and start me a family. And so the guy's amazed. And he wanted to know why the owner was selling him so cheap. And the owner replied, because he lies all the time. He didn't do any of that stuff. And so what's the point of that story? As individuals, we need to know the value of what's inside of us, what we have our hands on personally. And a lot of times society has beat up on us. Family, friends, loved ones, well-meaning folks in our lives have beat up on us. And if, you know, we have to ask the question, what is success to each one of us? Because if I asked each individual what success looked like to them, each individual would have a different answer. And the dictionary defines success as the attainment of wealth, position, honors, or something like that. And even though that's the dictionary definition of success, I don't agree with it. The best definition I've ever heard as it relates to true success is how many people are better off because you lived. You know, I know personally in my life, I can say my life has improved greatly because of people who have come into my life. I think back to the first pastor that took an interest in me as a kid, Reverend John B. Bolton. And this gentleman died when I was finishing up my 11th grade in high school. It had a real impact on my life at the time. And, you know, I still think about Reverend Bolton and his teachings from being a kid and baptizing me and things like that. And, you know, I think about my woodshop teacher from high school. And, of course, he's still living, and, you know, we communicate all the time, have dinner from time to time and things like that. And my mentor, Marshall Johnson, who was introduced to me by another gentleman named Al Henry, who's passed on. So, because of those men, my life has greatly improved. And there are countless lives that are better because each one of these individuals live. Because it doesn't stop with that person. What we take in from those people, we actually take that information and impart it on to others as well. And we believe we've benefited from these people coming into our lives, so we believe somebody else could benefit from what these people have shared with us. You know, are you a success when you give it your best? Well, that depends. You know, just think about as a student in school. If the best grade you had ever made was a B, did you give it your best? Or do you think you could have did just a little bit more to make an A? And so, sometimes we can become satisfied with a victory in our lives. And a lot of us do. We achieve a victory, and we stop right there. And we continue to live our lives where we continue to live that victory over and over again instead of planning for new successes. And I mean, I know this from personal experience, you know, dealing with people, and you run into a lot of people talking about the good old days. And, you know, as much as technology has improved, I guess the only thing that we could say we need to revert back to the good old days are on personal relationships, because technology has brought us closer together so we can be farther apart. But success is not a destination. It's a journey. And many people believe it's a place you go to and you arrive and you sit there. But unfortunately, it's not like that. So never get to the place where you feel you've arrived and there's nowhere else for you to go. If we take that attitude, we automatically start to move backwards. And what are the requirements for us to be successful? There are a few things we need to do in order to be successful, in my opinion. We have to put good information into our brains. We do that by reading good books and listening to good audio or looking at good videos. And I read something the other day and the guy said, as we mature, we need to know what we should not be reading. And I mean, as children, if your child displays the knack for wanting to read, let them read whatever book they pick up. But as we get older, we have to decide, okay, is this going to help me or is it going to hurt me? And we can mentally associate with people who have gone before us and found out what works and what doesn't when we have these books and these audios and videos. And I need to also mention our physical associations are important. Who do we hang with? As my mentor says, if we hang around bank robbers long enough, eventually they're going to let us drive the car. Another area, we need to set some goals. We have to set goals if we're going to succeed. And you might be wondering, how does all this fit in with success? I'm glad you asked me. Why is it hard for some to succeed, find motivation, or associate with the right people? This is all based on our attitudes. If we have big dreams, we need to hang around big dreamers. They lift us up. We don't need natural talent to succeed. We need the will to succeed. I've encountered a lot of people who've had all the physical tools to achieve and succeed in life, but their mentality was not in place. And so we need to have a vision of what we want to accomplish. People that don't have a vision for themselves, they're always seated in front of the television. Success is still demanding. It's still unforgiving. And it's not a respect of persons. If you ever lose your fire, you need to get around somebody who has matches and pour gasoline on yourself. And what do I mean by losing your fire? When we're young, we have big dreams. As we get older and life starts happening, we start to push those dreams to the back. I know for me personally, I've always enjoyed the Ferrari cars. And that's just me personally. And, I keep Ferraris on my mind all the time. And, even though I look at pictures of Bentleys and Rolls Royces and all that other stuff, they just don't motivate me. And but a lot of us have these big dreams, especially young boys. And as we get older and life beats up on us, we start settling for Honda Accord or Toyota Camry. And I'm not putting those cars down. I've had 3 Honda Accords. And so we need to associate with people who have success if we want success. A lot of people like to succeed at doing nothing rather than attempt to do something great and fail at it. And failure is not permanent. It's just saying, okay, it didn't work this way or it didn't work this time. Let me modify and make some changes. There's really no such thing as a free lunch. And if it is, it's probably not worth eating. I know the school system has free lunch, but when I was in school, those lunches left a lot to be desired. And so we have to view success as a predetermined event. We need to see ourselves with the victory in our minds first. We need to set some attainable goals. If we surround ourselves with the wrong stuff, it becomes very hard to do the right thing. And we also have to make sure we dress for success. My granddaughter spent a great deal of the summer with us, and I like to wear shorts and t-shirts and tennis shoes. Well, right now I have a hospital shoe on one of my feet, but I like to wear tennis shoes and shorts. And she told me one day this summer, she said, "You're a businessman. You need to be dressed up every time you walk out the house and going somewhere in public." And what we always hear, out of the mouth of babes. And so even though I'm still leaving out of the house from time to time in my t-shirt and shorts, guess what I started doing? I got back to putting on some Docker type slacks and polo type shirts and some not dressy shoes, but some casual dress shoes, because our dress tells people a lot about us, and our dress also affects our image and attitude of self. So I might do another talk on dressing for success at a later date, but just wanted to share a little bit with you today, and hopefully this helps somebody.